Hi, I'm Stas Margaronis, ports reporter for the American Journal of Transportation, and our guests today are Jonathan Daniels, Executive Director of the Port of Baltimore, and Mark Schmidt, President and CEO of Ports America Chesapeake. Gentlemen, good morning from the West Coast and good afternoon in Baltimore.
Good morning, Stas.
Good afternoon. Great to be here with you.
Thank you. Uh, Jonathan, I think we'd like to start off with just having you give us a little bit of an overview of what's been going on with the port. Obviously, in the aftermath of the bridge collapse, there have been a lot of questions about whether the port was getting back on its feet. How are you guys doing?
I think if you consider what is going on for the last 2 years, from the collision with the Dolly and the subsequent collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge, you throw in there consideration. We had a coal vessel that was moving through the harbor that had an explosion on board. There were a couple days under which the port was closed based on some labor issues and the negotiation of the ILA, the new ILA contract. And then you throw the geopolitical situations that are occurring on a global basis. The war with Iran, certainly it has been a challenging time during the last 2.5 years. And while we are not fully back as of yet, certainly I think we have faced those challenges. And with strong partners and strong partnerships with groups like Ports America Chesapeake, we are in a very strong recovery and a rebound mode. 2025, I think in many respects exceeded our expectations. Is we rode the initial early year fever that everybody was under to try and avoid some of the tariffs by moving a significant amount of cargo through the U.S. ports as quickly as was possible to not be impacted by the tariffs. And that allowed us the opportunity in 2025 to see a record move for the amount of TEUs moving through our Seagirt Marine Terminal with our partners from Ports America Chesapeake, and the great work that Mark and his team do, and also the labor that we have with the partnership with the ILA. We saw that record. We saw a TEU record. We saw the most amount of vessels calling the Seagirt Marine Terminal. In addition, we saw the largest amount of vessels and vessel calls into the Port of Baltimore jurisdiction. Now, we're not seeing as much cargo per vessel as we would like to see. So I think that's all part of the tariff program and just the uncertainty that we're seeing on a geopolitical basis. But it did allow us the opportunity to set some new records. We had our second busiest year ever through the port. Just a little bit below 2023, which is our bellwether year. We moved about 50 million tons of cargo through in containers. Roll on, roll off, our vehicle movements, which continue to stay very strong, our bulk and our position on the bulk market as well. So we saw a very strong rebound in 2025. We are not where we would be if it had not been for the bridge collapse. We would certainly see numbers that were above where we were in 2025, but we have taken a very strong position and very active position, and we're being as aggressive as we can to be able to rebound and recover. And ultimately, it's as an agency that strives on economic development and being an economic engine for the Baltimore region, as well as for the state of Maryland. We were pleased with the recovery, but we're not going to rest on our laurels and are going to continue to push. And with the new infrastructure that's going to be coming online within the next week or so with the Howard Street Tunnel, we think that the future for the Port of Baltimore is only getting brighter.
Okay, very good. So, Jonathan, on that point, let's talk about the Howard Tunnel project. Can you give us a little bit of how long has it taken? What does it cost? And it's going to be open next week. Did I understand that correctly?
It will. You're talking about a project through the planning, design, and implementation process from the beginning is nearly 5 decades long. We're talking a little bit more than 47 years in totality. But as technology has changed, construction methods, means and methods changed, it allowed CSX to take a little bit of a different view of it. At one point, the overall cost was just going to put it in a position where it just was not going to be a solid return on investment. But again, utilizing and evaluating the tunnel project as part of 22 separate individual projects. I mean, we have to understand that just what was going on with the tunnel itself and around the greater Baltimore area and the Port of Baltimore, that was only a small part of the overall project. $500 million worth of investment made by the state of Maryland, by the federal government, and of course by CSX, a true public-private partnership that is also being joined by investments that are being made in the ICTF. And Mark will talk a little bit more about that, is because they've been doing a significant amount of work to get ready to be able to take on the additional cargo flows that will occur and that will grow over time. The investment that they have made and are making, along with everything that's occurring within the rail right of way, it's 22 different projects, 10 different construction projects that span from Pennsylvania into Delaware, as well as into the state of Maryland, where the majority of the large scale projects that have occurred are allowing us the opportunity to see the first train that will be departing the upper Midwest and moving to Baltimore on March 4th of 2026. So a long time coming, a lot of anticipation, a lot of work that's been done on the design and construction, but also in preparation to be able to accommodate the type of cargo flows that we anticipate are going to allow us the opportunity to be able to grow into the future.
Okay, so Jonathan, one of the obvious questions is you've had a competitor in to the south of you for many, many years with Port of Norfolk or Port of Virginia. They've got a lot of the infrastructure that you described. You've kind of come into this, people would say maybe late in the game. How is this going to change what you have been doing and what they've been doing? Are you going to be able to get more business as a result of this?
Yeah, we think so. Supply chains, the supply chains are nimble, but when the shippers and carriers have a supply chain that works, it's difficult to get them to change or change immediately.
Okay.
No one wants to be first to the gate. Is they have something that has been working for years, for decades, for longer than that. So oftentimes the industry is loath to make a change. We have to prove that this works. We have to prove that while the origin and destination are the same, where the cargo is coming from, where it's going remains the same. It's the variables. It's the time at the dock. It's the time during the voyage. It's the time during the inland transportation that ultimately makes or breaks. What this does provide us is with a distinct advantage. If we're going to the same endpoint in the upper Midwest, once you drop the cargo on the ground and put it on the rail, Baltimore becomes the quickest option in the inland transportation component of the supply chain. But it is something, again, that is going to have to be proved over time. And that's what we're working on with our partners at Ports America Chesapeake, at CSX, to make sure that we are getting out into the industry so that they understand that this new piece of infrastructure provides them with an additional and quicker option. And it's just going to take time. And that's why you take a look at what those numbers are long term. But Mark will talk about, and certainly we've had these discussions about, it's going to take us a while to be able to realize the full potential. But we look at ourselves now having an equalizer with some of our competitors, certainly in Virginia, in New York, and some of the other locations, as well as the wider range reaching into that discretionary hinterland of the upper Midwest, and those that have been doing this for a long period of time. Again, we are new at the game. We know that we are very confident that on the terminal side of it, that we are much more efficient with the partners that we do have. Now it's linking the external transportation infrastructure outside the gates of the Port of Baltimore with the efficiencies that we have at our docks and inside the gates within the port. And we think that we are going to be able to negate the negative impacts on those variables of time, and allowing them with the BCOs, the carriers, with a much better option. And that option is going to ultimately lay out a level of efficiency and cost savings that for the long term will provide them the opportunity and the advantages that allow them to say that the Port of Baltimore is going to be their port of choice. not just in the short term, but this is a long-term investment. It's taken us a long time to get here. We understand it's not going to happen overnight, but we're confident in the long-term benefits of this project, and ultimately the benefits that we're going to be able to talk about with the users for a long time to come.
Okay, very good. So, Mark,
Yes.
let's bring you in on this. You're on the ground here. You're a terminal operator. You're seeing the day-to-day operations. How do you see this playing out?
Yeah, I would say well, I thank Jonathan for his comments. And, as a true partner under a public-private partnership with the Maryland Port Administration since 2010 with a 50-year concession lease agreement, we see this as just a natural progression of what's happened here. Under the concession agreement, right, we had obligations, built a new berth. In preparation, there's two things we were prepared for. The expanding of the Panama Canal and the Howard Street Tunnel opening. 2012, 2014, we had the cranes ready for the additional capacity needed for the opening of the Panama Canal at the 50-foot berth all the way to the mouth of the Chesapeake. And now we see the next opportunity in the Howard Street Tunnel. So as in the middle of the third largest economic region in the country, we feel very confident that the discretionary cargo is being consumed here, but we also have the opportunity for the BCOs to take that non-discretionary cargo to Chicago. And our close proximity, as Jonathan said, is certainly going to be attractive to the BCOs and ultimately the ocean carriers. And to get all that done, we have several projects underway. One of them is the modernization of the intermodal container transfer facility, which is our on-dock rail. And we're going to be realigning some tracks, doing some improvements there that will allow us to build out to ultimate capacity of 150,000 lifts. But in the short term, we're looking for those 25,000 to 35,000 additional lifts to start that and to kickstart that this year, and with the ultimate growth of the potential out there. So, it's a great project and a great statement for the port.
Okay, Mark, when we're talking about on-dock rail, how far does that container have to go before it hits a rail car?
So it's adjacent to the international. So we just have to go through a gate that's on our property that is adjacent to the international and to the container yard.
Okay. So in terms of travel time from Baltimore as opposed to Norfolk, how faster can you get to Chicago than them?
We feel a couple of days, right? We're 3 days from loading out to Chicago. So we are 150 some miles closer than Chicago to Chicago from New York, and also out of Norfolk. It's 790 miles from Baltimore to 790 miles to Chicago, and it's 915 from Norfolk. So we have a mileage difference. We also have, no congestion on the terminal. It allows us free flow to Chicago. So 3 days and you're there.
So, Mark, what feedback are you getting from the carriers and the BCOs about about the project?
Yeah, everybody's excited about it. Had good conversations this morning, as early as this morning, with BCOs about the potential. Everyone's looking forward to it. The BCOs love to have options and new gateways. And so today we're getting that message out there. The carriers are interested, the BCOs are interested, and by the end of the year, we should see some really good progress on use of that service.
So one of the issues on the West Coast that we have when we start seeing some additional business, as we did with COVID, we started to have congestion issues. And one of our problems was with the rail. Mm-hmm. And in our case, we won't mention the two rail carriers were sometimes criticized for not having enough capacity to move the boxes from the West Coast to the Midwest.
Yep.
How is your CSX relationship going, and do you have enough support in terms of rail capacity to move what you have from Baltimore to Chicago expeditiously?
Yeah, CSX continues to be a great partner, and they've promised us as we get the business and the carriers come here, they're going to have trains available, and have every faith and confidence in that. We've been operating their domestic rail service out of Baltimore for decades. And so we continue to do that on a domestic side. And we have plenty of capacity to introduce the international. So I'm very confident the rail cars will be there. We're running trains every day on a domestic basis, but the international trains will just be bolted on, and we'll have that availability without any concerns from my perspective.
Okay, Mark, in terms of equipment that you have on the terminal, what kind of upgrades in terms of cargo equipment and craneage and transtainers,
Yep.
what did you need to invest to help smooth this process along?
Yeah, so we several years ago purchased some RTGs, 4 RTGs that we will use in the same reference point as you would a transtainer to operate this facility. And what we'll be doing is a multi-mode domestic international operation out there. And this RTG configuration will make that a seamless transition from an all domestic yard to both a domestic and international yard. And we are expanding rail and to the tune of $42 million. We are realigning our rail infrastructure and electrifying the facility so that all of our RTGs will be on an electric grid, and allowing us flexibility between the international and the domestic operation. And it'll be a seamless transition because we can do both today, and we'll be working through that to add capacity.
Okay. And did you mention that you had brought new cranes on berth?
Yeah, so we have 4 new RTGs, which are the movers for the from the truck to the rail, or from our bomb carts, our equipment to the rail. So that transfer will be a seamless transition from the international yard to the rail, and we'll take it off with the RTGs and put it on the available cars.
So my last question is, how's your relationship with the ILA?
I have to say that my experience in the last 4 years has been tremendous. The change in the ILA relationship in Baltimore has made a significant improvement over the years. We're really thrilled with our productivity levels, our safety program, and the relationship with the ILA here is very, very solid. And I would encourage those questions to be asked of the ILA, because I think we're in a very good spot. Productivity is high, safety concerns are low, and we have a great truck community that is supported well by the ILA as well.
Very good, Mark. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Jonathan, I'm going to come back to you. You have
Okay.
a 4-acre grain transloading terminal that's about to come online, or is online.
No, it's we had the groundbreaking a few weeks ago, and Mark can talk about that as well, because it's on property that is within his purview. What is so great, a lot of people forget about the strength of the agriculture industry in the state of Maryland, the amount of soybeans, the amount of grains that are grown on the Eastern Shore. And we already have, through Ports America, they already have a very strong agricultural program in the investment that they are making in excess of $10 million to be able to build out this facility in concert and in cooperation with Frey. Allows them the opportunity really to serve as an epicenter for the state of Maryland for the export market, which in the past has been doable, but certainly has not been done to the efficiency levels that they are going to gain with the new facility coming online this summer. The support that we've had from the agricultural industry, from the leadership within the ag market within the state, has been absolutely fantastic. And that has allowed them the opportunity to develop a long-term program to be able to make that level of investment and really create an absolutely world-class efficient operation within the port. It's going to cut down on costs. It's going to increase efficiency. It's going to allow us the opportunity to have less trucks and less congestion on the road, and allow for the transfer to occur within the port itself, as opposed to occurring at various locations, allowing for the workforce, allowing for the ILA to be able to utilize their expertise in the loadout of these containers, to really allow for a flexible market and a flexible ag market to be able to hit global markets. And they can have Mark, again, PAC's the one making the investment on that new facility. And again, we had the opportunity to break ground not too long ago, but they're hitting some very, very quick milestones that will allow us the opportunity to have this facility come online really in less than half a year. Mark?
Yes, so what I'd say additionally to that is, it's the partnership again with the state of Maryland, the MPA, that allowed us to get the land, take the long-term lease, to make this investment with our partner Frey, who will be supplying the beans for the project and all the containers that come through the port. So we're really excited about this opportunity because it gives that export opportunity to our farmers, but also for the carriers to have a paying load to leave the port. And it's something that they're always clamoring for, and it's something we're able to provide on the export side. So really excited about that. Opening in August, with the first shipments going out in September. So we're really excited to see this come online and be a really a great product for and service for the farmers in the state of Maryland.
Mark, what investment challenges did you have setting this facility up?
Really, the biggest thing for us was getting the logistics behind, the timing to the start and when we'd be able to utilize that. Our company was fully on board. The MPA was on board. We found a partner. We've been transloading grain here for the past 10 years or so, but this makes it just a really efficient, safe operation that will be labor provided by the ILA, but under a Ports America management and a customer base of Frey Commodities. So it's been a very good partnership there.
Are you containerized in this facility?
Yes. So what'll happen is the hopper trucks from the farms are going to come to the port, and that way they can get an empty box very quickly, get it loaded out. 15-20 minutes, that box is loaded and gets back in the stack so it can go out on its ships. And that'll happen very quickly. And so it takes that need to dray an empty box to the farmer, right? And we're bringing that to the port, and it'll make it much more seamless for them, and a better service and efficient operation.
And what is your projection in terms of TEUs on this one?
Yes, so we again, like the rail, right? We see this growing out over time, but we could see up to 20, 30, 40,000 boxes being stuffed out there over the course of a year as we grow into the full build out of the facility. So it's got some real good growth potential, and we've got some commitments from our customer Frey to provide that within the first year and build that out over the next 7 years. So really good potential for added volume and a matchback load going out of the Port of Baltimore.
Very good. Okay. Jonathan, let me come back to you.
Yep.
You've got a new container terminal at Sparrows Point that's beginning construction this year.
Actually, breaking ground officially this Friday.
Very good. Can you tell us a little bit about it and the timeline for construction?
Certainly, we'll talk a little bit about that. And again, you're looking at the addition of capacity throughout the Port of Baltimore jurisdiction. So this is being undertaken at Sparrows Point, which is owned and operated by Trade Point Atlantic. So the concept of this is in cooperation with MSC and TIL as the terminal operator, making a significant investment, about $1.1 billion investment in a new container terminal that will shift a significant amount of cargo, unfortunately, off of the public docks. The MSC cargo will move over to this facility once it is complete in approximately 2029, 2030. But what that does for us, that gives us the opportunity to be able to backfill with additional cargo, additional carrier, additional capacity at the Seagirt Marine Terminal. So it will nearly double the capacity and make us one of the top 3 capacity TEU ports on the East Coast, behind New York, behind Savannah. So it really allows us the opportunity to be able to increase the level of capacity within the port jurisdiction. Again, they are moving very quickly. They're involved right now in the dredging program that's going to be necessary to remove about 4.25 million cubic yards of material to be able to support the added depth and draft that's going to be necessary for those larger vessels to be able to call. And it's going to match against the level of commitment that's been made for the construction of a significant amount of distribution centers that already exist and have been under construction for a long period of time over at the former Bethlehem Steel mill site. There's a significant amount of capacity over there for warehouse capacity, for Floor and Decor, for Amazon, for Purdue, for McCormick, the spice company, which is headquartered just north of here in Cockeysville, Maryland. But all of that capacity will be matched with additional shipping capacity coming into the port when that facility is complete. It has been a long process to be able to get to the point where they're able to break ground. A significant amount of work has occurred over there during the last several years, primarily to be able to support the distribution center capacity that has been built out over time. And certainly what is great about that is one of the reasons why that facility is now able to kick off is because of the partnership and because of the notice that was given by one of the partners, being MSC, and indicating that the justification for this type of investment is because of the Howard Street Tunnel, because of the external transportation network that is being enhanced by the investment that's being made by the state, by the federal government, as well as privately by CSX, was really a cornerstone in allowing for that project to be able to move forward. Now that you have the connectivity into the upper Midwest and beyond, it begins to justify additional terminal development. So all of these investments that are being made are not being made in a vacuum or in isolation. They're being made as justification and leverage against some of the other investments that have been made. So we're really looking at a partnership, public and privately, within the Port of Baltimore that has allowed us the opportunity to be one of the most diverse, one of the most efficient operations. It allows us the opportunity not only on the container side, but you take a look at the processing capacity that we have in our autos and light trucks, in our high and heavy operation. It allows us the opportunity to be some of the nation's leaders. For 13 straight years, we've seen more than 700,000 vehicles move through the port. Continues to be a very, very strong component of our business activities. We continue to be number one in the roll-on, roll-off tonnage. The combines, the construction equipment that move into and off of the East Coast ports and throughout the United States, Baltimore continues to be a leader. We're number two when it comes to gypsum, number two when it comes to sugar on an import basis. Makes us one of the sweetest ports in the United States with our partnership that we have just across the Inner Harbor with Domino Sugar and the processing that occurs there. So again, this just continues to add to the inventory of infrastructure that we have that continues to point to the strengthening of the Port of Baltimore as a global gateway.
Jonathan, are you is MSC the prime customer at the new terminal?
They will be. So
yes.
This is a partnership between TradePoint and TIL. Of course, TIL is the in-house operator for MSC. So they will be the primary user for that facility.
Okay. And in terms of your car business, are there any, you talked, I mean, you're known for your car business. You've had a robust business for years. Are there any changes anticipated on that end?
No, I think what we're looking at is everybody is struggling a little bit on the auto side. All of the, if you take a look at the four corners of the United States, which are really the four pillars for auto processing and auto shipping throughout the United States, all of us are down a little bit. Certainly because of the tariff program, right. Some of the inconsistencies that the OEMs have seen in the application of tariffs. They're having to make some decisions business-wise as to what manufacturing looks like on an international basis, as opposed to expanding operations within the United States. All of them are dealing with that right now and trying to make that determination as to what their long-term prospects and strategy will be. With that, we have seen certainly a decrease in the amount of cars moving through the port. And then, you take a look at what's going on right now in the Middle East, is that the shipments going out to the Middle East have ceased for a period of time until that area has ceased a little bit more on the peace side with what's going on between Israel and the United States with Iran right now. So we're looking forward for that business to come back on the line hopefully pretty soon. But we did see a decrease during the time period when our channel was shut down in 2024.
Right.
Is a significant amount of vehicle movements went to other ports. But what was interesting about that, because of the 4 production and processing facilities that we have within Baltimore, is those vehicles, while they may have gone to another port, ended up being shuttled back to the Port of Baltimore for processing, just because of the sheer capacity and expertise that our labor provides for the auto industry, for the light truck industry, as well as for the high and heavy industry. Is it still had to come out, and that's still going to allow us the opportunity to be strong. We're working aggressively to be able to make sure that we do hold on to our mantle and our spot as one of the top processors in the United States. We continue to do that. I think what we're doing is just seeing a change in the market on a global basis, and all of us are seeing some difficulties in that market right now. The other thing that we are just engaging in as we speak is we just had our kickoff meeting for our long-term master vision plan. That's going to allow us the opportunity to take a look at the commercial markets. Where are we strong? Where are we weak? Where can we take advantage of our strength? Look at areas where we may be weak on a trade lane basis, on a global basis, allowing us the opportunity to take a look at what opportunities are out there, and then match that with an infrastructure development program that allows us the opportunity to properly map our return on investment with the state dollars that are invested in our port infrastructure. So we're just kicking off on that. It's going to be a little bit more than a year that we're going to be working through that process. And then that allows us the opportunity to go down to the state capitol or go 35 miles down to the south and west and go to Washington, D.C., and make sure that we are showing a justified investment package at the same time that matches against the new commercial opportunities that we know are going to be found during this master vision process.
So that gets me to the issue of the Key Bridge, and I saw that the governor had spoken about that there'd been some back and forth between Maryland and Washington about who's paying what and what's going on. What is your expectation about the completion of the new bridge, and are there any funding issues that have to be addressed?
Again, I think what we can do is we're going to want to put you in contact with MDTA. The Transportation Authority is the entity that's responsible for the rebuild. They pointed to a late 2030 timeframe for completion of the bridge. This is a massive structure that will serve as that gateway and beacon for the Port of Baltimore. It stands as a symbol of resilience and recovery for the region and for the state from a very, very catastrophic event. But Bruce Gardner, who's my counterpart at MDTA, can talk specifically about where the bridge stands right now. They are going through a process where they are doing the final removement of the bridge support structures and abutments, and then matching that with a test pile program that's going to allow them the opportunity to finalize the details associated with the design, and then set forth the final details associated with the construction of that program. Everything that we're hearing right now from MDTA, and we know they're going to be coming out with some more information fairly soon, point to a late 2030 completion date for that structure. So we're still a little bit more than 4 years of overall construction, but they're actively progressing through that process as we speak, as they go through their design. And then we'll see what this next iteration comes out from MDTA. But again, Stas, we can put you in contact. Richard can provide you with that information, and you can speak with the agency that is directly responsible for the bridge reconstruction.
That's fine. So my last question is, we have the war has really skyrocketed fuel prices. And I know that on the West Coast, the harbor truckers are having some real challenges with the higher fuel costs. Mark, can you talk a little bit about what you're seeing from your end? And I know that a lot of the truckers, some of the truckers are small family-owned operations, and I know that diesel prices going through the roof is not helping them.
Yeah, I think overall, obviously, we have a fair amount of diesel equipment on site as well, and it's really impacted our cost structure. We do have some surcharges that we can pass along to our customer base, but it's not always a dollar for dollar increase, right? So we're feeling that from an operator's perspective, and we're certainly hearing it from the trucking community. It hasn't slowed us down, it hasn't inhibited us, but I think what ultimately will happen is we'll all be paying more as a consumer when these goods get to the stores. So, I see it, I feel it, but I don't think we're having volume impacts yet because of it. I think that that's going to continue to go through, and hopefully this is a short-lived situation that we see an end game to it, and that ultimately this is resolved in a short period of time. But today we are feeling it. We have it in our operations, and we are getting the message from the truckers that this is a tough time.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Jonathan, this sounds very promising. You obviously have really bounced back here. Mark, it really sounds like the new Howard Tunnel is going to really make a huge difference for the Port of Baltimore.
Yes.
I think it's really good that the ILA is on board on this, but the shipping business is never boring, and the situation that we have.
That's for sure.
It's fickle. As you said, it's tough to get people to change. The maritime industry is loath to change. But as one of we go back to 1706 as the Port of Baltimore. We've been here. We've been resilient. We've come through war. We've come through strife. We've come through change. It's awfully nice to see this infrastructure coming on board and being able to take advantage of it in a very positive way.
Very good. Guys, I want to thank you very much for your time. It has been very interesting. I am very pleased to hear that there's a rebirth at Baltimore. Wish you the best of luck on your new double-stack rail project and the Sparrows Point and all the good work you're doing, Mark, with your new grain facility as well. I am Stas Margaronis. I'm the ports reporter for the American Journal of Transportation. We've been talking to Jonathan Daniels, Executive Director at the Port of Baltimore, and Mark Schmidt, President and CEO of Ports America Chesapeake. Gentlemen, thank you very much, and best wishes for your future endeavors.